Hi guys, welcome back again to my channel. And today we have 10 job interview tips that will help you to land your dream job. All right. So, tip number one, prepare a brief description of your work history. You want to make sure that you have a brief rundown of what what are your skills, what are the ability, your skills and abilities of your previous work history. You want to make sure you're able to explain every duties. You want to make sure that you're able to just give a breakdown of your work history. So that is tip number one. Tip number two, research about the company. If you go into an interview and you get a question about the company and you're not able to answer, that is not going to work in your favor of landing your dream job. So you want to make sure that you're researching about the company that you're going to an interview for and make sure you gather as much information as possible. Some of the information that is key as well is you need to know your job function. So you make sure that you're researching what the role is that you're applying for and what is it that you're bringing to the table to make sure that you are selling yourself in that interview. Okay, so make sure you always research about the company. Tip number three, talk about accomplishments. So I recently landed a job, right? And in before we actually went to the interview stage, I was asked, what is your biggest accomplishment in sales? And I was able to say, hey, I ranked number one for 3 months. So you must be able to tell what are your achievements um, in the current role. So if you're applying for customer service, what are your achievements while you were doing customer service? What is your biggest achievement for that role? So make sure you're talking about your accomplishments and you're outlining your awards if you receive awards. You're outlining those and make sure that you are able to sell yourself with your accomplishments in those interviews. Tip number four, never badmouth a former employer. I know we have worked for some spawn of Satan, if I can refer to it as that. We have worked for some persons who are just bad for our health overall. However, when we're going to a new job, we do not want to mention anything bad about our employer because what will happen is the current employer that you are trying the current job that you're trying to land will think that it's the same thing that you're going to do to them. So you want to make sure that you never state anything bad about your previous employer or your previous manager. Okay? Tip number five, be human, be yourself, relax. You're talking to another person who had to do the same thing to get the job to interview you. So you're talking to humans, be human, be yourself. If you be yourself in everything that you do, it comes off naturally, things flow smoothly. So be human and be yourself in the interview. Tip number six, be truthful. Oftentimes we hear persons say they're not gonna look up where I used to work or they're not gonna call my previous job. They will. Please don't underestimate that. They will. So you have to make sure that everything that is on your resume aligns with the truth. It's truthful, and there's nothing there that is will leave any loopholes for you not getting that job. So be truthful about everything that you're asked in the interview. Tip number seven, talk slowly and clearly. So oftentimes when we get nervous, we overtalk. We overtalk or we talk very fast because we're nervous. We want to make sure that you relax. Again, it goes back to the point of being human. Be human, be yourself. If you be if you make sure that you are yourself in these interviews, you will be able to flow freely. You will be able to relax a bit. Those nerves will kind of calm down. So talk slowly and make sure that you're clear in the information that you're communicating. Tip number 8, smile and make eye contact. Eye contact is pretty important when you're having a conversation. If you're not making eye contact with me, I would not take you seriously. So you have to make sure that you're smiling and you're making eye contact with your interviewer. Tip number 9, dress appropriately. I cannot stress enough that you need to ensure that you are dressing appropriately for an interview, right? An interview is it's a professional work environment. So even though it may be a remote work and it's not something that you're not going on site, do not show up on camera, because most of the times they need you on camera to do that interview. Do not show up on camera in your PJs. Make sure that you're still dressing as if you're going to a physical building. And if you're going to the physical building, make sure you research if you don't know what business attire is or interview attire. You can go, Google is free, guys. Research, make sure that you're dressing appropriately for your interviews. And last and not final, always thank the interviewer. Thank you for, the opportunity to do this interview. You always want to make sure that you show gratitude, because even if you're not selected now, you may be considered for a future role. So you want to make sure you're leaving a good impression with that interviewer at all times. These are just 10 simple tips, and I call them simple because they are way more complex tips that we can get into. But we'll do that at a later date, guys. So happy job hunting and all the best.